97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
I love coaching this football team. I love coaching those players in there.
Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
It is time for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which dropped this morning. And it's brought to you locally by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now. They'll match your first deposit up to $250. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast is here as we look back at a wild night where the Eagles are down 21-10 with about 7 minutes left to go. And here comes Carson Wentz. So, Geoff Mosher, do we give Carson Wentz credit for a great game, or was it more that Carson Wentz didn't play very well and he needed to play great because he didn't play great the entire game?
Yeah, Mike, it's a great question. Hope you guys are having a good day. Good to talk to you both. I would say that I live in a world, and I think you guys do too, where two things can be true at the same time. Although I know whenever we're watching things, especially sports and politics, it almost seems impossible to believe that. But Carson Wentz had an unbelievable final fourth quarter for the second straight week, and he played very poorly in the first half. Well, actually, the first quarter and the third quarter, I thought he played very poorly. And yes, a part of playing great down the stretch helped the team overcome some of the mistakes that Carson made. Now, that conversation opens up to, well, he's got nobody around him, and then he's getting hit. Yes, these things are all true. I'm there with you. I watch the games like everybody else does. I know that he's got to sometimes be a hero and wear a cape because a lot of the players around him are third and fourth stringers. But I don't think that that's licensed to make the kind of mistakes he was making early on. The crossbody throw that almost got picked off, the intentional grounding, the stack. I mean, the interception he took was just, that he threw was just lousy. And so I don't think that there's any reason to have to make excuses for those type of mistakes by mentioning all the people around him and the environment. We know that you got to play really smart when you're down in your personnel. And he didn't play very smart in the first half. And now it kind of opens up into a discussion. Well, do you just go forward like this? Do you let Carson be Carson and take the good with the bad? And at the end of the day, the good's going to outweigh the bad like it did last night. Well, will it? Will it? If it's not the Giants, right? Or if Evan Ingram doesn't drop that pass on third down, does Carson even get the chance to have that last final drive?
Yeah, it's a big question. And, he makes a great throw. I thought the throw to Hightower's getting overshadowed a little bit too because obviously it's not a touchdown pass, but he drops that one right in there. So he plays really well. My problem is just the inconsistencies within one game. It's one thing if it's like, hey, he just didn't have a good game, but I look back and say, if he just more consistent in the same games, they probably beat Washington, they probably beat Cincinnati, and we're feeling a whole heck of a lot different about this team.
Yes, I agree with you. It's whether you want to label it inconsistency or just, the smart play versus the not smart play, the throwing the ball away to live to see another down, or the holding on to it, taking a hit, trying to throw across your body, which is just, it's not a good play. And why he has to kind of learn the hard way sometimes, I don't know. We know one thing. Adam and I have talked about this on Inside the Birds. We've talked about it with you guys. We know he's not coached very hard. He's not sat down and, given the riot act the next day when they go through the film room. We know he's the coaching around him just doesn't hold him as accountable as maybe he used to be held when John DeFilippo was here and really kind of tried to get into his head a little bit better. And so if that's not going to happen, I guess the coaching staff has the same mentality that I'm hearing a little bit on the airwaves, and that's the whole, hey, just let him go out and do his thing. And if that becomes a recipe for success, I guess we'll see. I tend to think it's not. I tend to think that you can have it both ways. You can coach somebody hard, and you can, get him to try to see the light of day and mitigate his mistakes so that you're not in these positions at the end of games against bad teams. But there's some school of thought that if you do that, then you're almost deflating him of his ability to be him. I don't buy into it, but I know that's out there.
Yeah, the frustrating thing is his highs are so high. Like that Boston Scott throw is elite. It is so hard to make that throw, but the lows are so low. Like running away and throwing across your body to Fulgham across the entire field. Like it just doesn't make sense. It's one extreme to the next. But early in the game, and this kind of goes on Doug Pederson with the offense as a whole with Carson Wentz, the scripted plays were just beautiful. The way that they march downfield, it's tremendous. And then it goes quiet. How can you be so successful with all of this creativity, motions, giving it to Desean Jackson, letting him run around? It was great. How is it, just like Carson Wentz, one extreme to the next, the same with the head coach?
It's a great question. I saw it on Twitter, and I thought it was a great point. After they go for a 2-point conversion again, a couple times, they don't work, and the plays just look very vanilla. Zone read this, zone read that. That it's amazing to think that the guy who was the architect of maybe the greatest goal line play in NFL and Super Bowl history, right, is also the guy struggling to get 2 yards now consistently from game to game in these short yardage situations. It's hard to believe that Doug Pederson could have come up with a Philly special, but now he can't come up with a couple of decent plays at the 2-yard line for these conversions. But that's where we're at. I think it's not just that. I think, even though he had the reverse to Deshaun early, I thought this offense was going to have a lot more motion, misdirection, the things we talked about with Rich Gangarello here. It seems like, there'll be games where you see it. There'll be games where you don't see it, inconsistent. And they're behind the sticks a lot too. They're clearly not running well. I think Doug sometimes says, when I don't have good running game, my inclination is to pass even more. But they've been behind the sticks a lot early in these games, the last 2 or 3 games. And of course you can blame the offensive line and the difficulty that they're having blocking as an example of that. Part of me just wonders if there's that mental trade-off that Doug is taking into every game now. And that trade-off in his mind, and I don't think he would ever admit it, but I think Doug in his mind says, I'm just going to call the game that I normally call no matter who I've got in there. And I'm probably going to take a few lumps early, but then my quarterback's probably going to make 3 or 4 plays that's going to set him apart and help us win the game. And again, that can work against the Giants. Is that the recipe for sustainable long-term success over the next 10 games? I doubt it. We'll see. 9 games.
And one of the reasons you doubt it, too, Moshe, is because of the personnel. I mean, they're just so banged up. And, I mean, do we see any end in sight in that? I mean, you're not going to have Desean Jackson for a while now. I guess you will not have Ertz and Goddard for at least the next week, or, you might get Goddard back next week, but you're not going to have Ertz back till later on. You're not going to have, Lane Johnson. You probably won't have Driscoll. I mean, so it's going to be really hard to really suggest this team can gain any sort of consistency.
It is going to be hard. It is. And as I've been saying all year, and it's been proven to be correct, when you start waiting for those Lane Johnsons and Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders to come back in 1 week or 2 week or 3 week, you're forgetting that in that 1 week or 2 week or 3 weeks, you might lose 3 guys who are healthy right now, because that's really how it's been all year so far for the Eagles. Yeah, Jason Peters will come back too, but hopefully Travis Fulgham and Carson himself, he's taking a ton of hits. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and hopefully your corners stay healthy, Darius Slay. So you just have to hope that at some point in your injury situation, you would like to be net positive. It feels like you're always net negative. You didn't have Miles, Zach Ertz, and Malik Jackson for this game. You got Desean Jackson and Avonte Maddox back, although Maddox did not play very much. But you thought you were getting 2, you lost 3, right? So you were down 1. And then, of course, you lose Desean Jackson and Lane Johnson in the game again.
What did you think about that play call from Doug Pederson to throw a fade to Butler in the end zone on 4th down?
What did I think about it? I had a lot of thought. Wait, the fade to who?
Butler.
I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden.
Butler, the tight end, wide receiver, the guys line up on the wrong side of the field.
Moshe, I honestly thought that you were playing. I thought you were playing a game, or are you? Or is it going over my head right now? I can't tell if you're serious or not.
Go to bed, as you know, Hunter, I did not go to bed until about 3 a.m, and I woke up at 6:30. So you're gonna have to give me a little break. I forgot his last name was Butler. Look, I don't have a problem per se with the play call, because I like the fact that if the opponent hasn't seen something on tape, then you have the chance to spring it on them, especially in a short preparation. I think my issue with that was more, well, I have two issues with that play. One, after he lined up on the wrong side and he finally got himself aligned correctly, clearly Logan Ryan didn't know what was going on and was very late to go cover. And Carson, I feel, had to have seen the cornerback running over there. He should have called for a quick snap and just thrown the ball to Butler immediately to try to catch him off guard. Instead, he kind of floated it up in the air, which actually allowed Butler to recover for a little bit there. I mean, not Butler, Logan Ryan to recover for a little bit. And then secondly, for a guy who's 6'5" or something and has about 6 or 7 inches on Logan Ryan, you would have thought that Butler could have put up a better fight for that ball.
Yeah, it was a wonky play. The whole thing was weird. He's on the wrong side of the field. You got to tell him where to go. I mean, it was just you just wonder. And I was surprised that they actually admitted, yep, that's the play that we wanted to call. We put that in for him. And it was like, I get it. Because for years you've been saying, hey, where's a fade? Where's a jump ball? Give me one of those things. The biggest one of the problems I'm having, Jeff, is when they're inside the 5 or these 2-point conversion plays, it's like Doug feels like if I use the play once, I can't use it again. Like, why use it again until they stop you? If you scored on it once, you can use it, run it the other way. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like and if you have a 2-point conversion play, he snaps the ball to Wentz, and Wentz tucks it and runs off tackle. How about calling that play for Hurts? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Hurts gives you the ability to be more creative.
Yeah, they called that for Hurts, though, when he got stopped.
Not the same one.
Okay, I mean,
it was almost like they wanted
zone read.
It was almost like they wanted Hurts to do like the old Tim Tebow play where he like jump pop past it and there was nothing there, so he like tucked it and started. I mean, the one play where Wentz was there, they snapped it to him and it was like a power off the right side. He had a lead blocker and everything.
Right.
Just not very creative in that 2-point conversion area. How many? I mean, it seems like they're going for 2 almost every time now, and he's like, "Well, I'm out of plays."
Yeah, and I think there's some overthinking going on there too. I mean, Carson's really good on the run. If you want to spread him out, why don't you spread him out and just have Carson roll to his right, roll to his left, have him throwing on the run. That's been a play that's been very successful for them in the past. Haven't seen it. Even if you do it off of a zone read, you can even do that. Have him, fake like he's running and then pass the ball. I don't know. They're definitely not fooling anybody with the plays that they're picking. I agree with you on that. And I go back to what I said before. It's hard to believe the guy who came up with the Philly special now can't get a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Doug is in my crosshairs today. So I'll ask you this one. Was it weird to see Desean Jackson returning that punt at the end of the game? Like, I don't have a problem with it because I understood what they were trying to go for there. You needed like a home run type play, but it did cost them.
It cost them how?
Well, Desean Jackson got hurt.
I mean, come on. Come on, Hunter. You're going to tell me the guy – you have Desean Jackson on this team for this is a tight division game. I mean, if he returns that for a touchdown, it's another miracle at the link this time, and everybody's calling it a genius move. That you can't judge every play on the result of it. I mean, Deshaun's one of the best punt returners the game's ever seen.
I'm with you, but he's definitely under the fire for that today. People have definitely pointed that out, that Desean Jackson got hurt. You put a guy in there who just came back, and look what happened. I mean, look.
That's pile on to me. I mean, if he breaks a run, I think everybody calls it. It can't be the whole, if it works, it's a great move. If it doesn't work, the coach is an idiot. That's not fair.
All right, that's the way you see it. That's fine. Yeah. I lean more towards you than the other people. I just know that.
I thought you were.
Oh no!
I didn't realize you were just echoing the voice of the fan there.
Yeah,
I apologize.
No, it's okay. Look, Moshe, you can come at me anytime you like to. I lean more towards you than the others, but it has definitely been brought up today, without a doubt.
Well, now let's get into that because now Jackson's out. There were some reports that Jeffrey will be able to play, but Jeffrey, Fulgham, and that just it doesn't seem the fits as nearly as good as Jackson and Fulgham would have been.
Right, because Jeffrey and Fulgham are similar in how they're put together and how they play the game. And so you don't want Fulgham on one side and Jeffrey on the other. You want Fulgham on one side and your speedier guy, like a Desean or a Hightower, or even Jalen Reagor when he comes back on the other. So I'll be very curious to see how they make it work. Now they've moved Fulgham around a little bit, but the bottom line is he's an ex-receiver. He's a taller guy. He's not the speediest guy in the world, but he certainly has great route running skills, good football intellect, and he knows how to get himself open. He's not slow by any means. So he's a guy that you have to keep at X. I mean, I'm sorry, you just have to keep him there and figure it out because he's the guy that Carson Wentz trusts implicitly right now, and he's making the plays.
Well, that's why it's frustrating that you lose Jackson, because I would have liked to have seen how Fulgham would have kind of materialized. Now, Reagor, what do you know about him? I think you reported that the cast is off. Does that mean he might play in Dallas versus Dallas, or is that a little premature?
As I said on the Inside the Birds pregame live show, that yes, the cast is off. He's starting to catch some footballs. The original timetable for him to return was after the bye week. So that would be the Giants game, correct?
Yes, they play Sunday night against Dallas, then they have a bye, and then they play the Giants again.
Right. I said on the show that I would say the door is slightly ajar for him to maybe come back a little sooner and play against Dallas. I wouldn't call it concrete. I think there's a very small chance he could, depending on how the next few days go. But I don't want to get anybody's hopes up either. So I'll just say that the door is slightly open for that to happen.
So him and Fulgham would be a decent combination.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And honestly, look, if Hightower can catch the ball, he's doing what he's supposed to do. When the defenses are attacking the Eagles and leaving their corners on an island, he is getting open. He's just got to be able to catch the ball. And I like that Carson, despite the drops, has basically said this is a guy I got to give opportunities to continue to get better because he can really help. And so I even like an idea of having Fulgham at your X and Hightower at your Z and Reagor getting in there for the slot. I'm not down on Greg Ward at all. Greg Ward catches everything. If it's 3rd and 4, you're going to want Greg Ward on the field in the slot if you're in L11 personnel. But if it's a 1st or 2nd down and you're trying a little play action, right, that's a really nice time to be able to have Hightower and Jalen Reagor on the field at the same time and use Jalen as a vertical slot. Or maybe you're in 12. I doubt you're in 12 personnel anytime soon. But if you want to kind of mix and match Reagor and Hightower as your Z receivers, you can do that and add that speed on the opposite side of Fulgham.
Yeah, there's so much more in mixing and matching to get into here real quick. Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds podcast. Jason Peters, for some reason my mind just went there because I had a follow-up with the wide receivers, but I'll go to Peters here because Doug was kind of pushed on it, not pushed, but asked about it today, about Mailata staying at left tackle, and he said, it will be an internal conversation. Is that code word for, yes, he's going to play guard when he comes back?
Yeah, I just wonder if he gives back the money. I would think so. He has to. You can't. Again, it's much like what the discussion we're having with Fulgham versus Jeffrey, right? Jordan Mailata is a young guy. He's holding his own. He's improving every game. He's got a chance, and we'll have to see. Obviously, this is a discussion for months down the road between him and Andre Dillard when Andre's ready to come back. But he has a chance to really solidify himself as an offensive tackle on this team going forward. And right now, he's playing adequately enough, or well enough, I should say, that if you can put Jason Peters back at right guard where you're really hurting right now, that would be the best thing for the team. And so I think that it's more sensible to think that Jason Peters is going to come back and play a right guard for, until 20 snaps in and he's not on the field again.
Can Richard Rodgers keep this type of production up? 85 yards, 6 receptions?
Man, is that not like the more under I mean, I haven't really listened to a lot of radio today because I've been out, but I mean, are people talking about how clutch Richard Rodgers was? He caught two really important passes there on that final drive. And, this is a guy who kind of has a history of coming up with big catches going back to Green Bay. And I think he caught one of the 3 Hail Marys that Aaron Rodgers has
was that the catch
thrown.
With the scab referees?
Right. And they both went to Cal, right? That was like the Cal Hail Mary there, I think. So, Richard Rodgers has been a good – he was hurt last year and the year before with the Eagles, but they brought him in because they knew he had experience in this kind of an offense and that he's a good pass catcher. He can block a little bit, as we've seen over the last few weeks. So I don't want to say a valuable player, but he's certainly been a player that they've relied on the last few weeks to make up for their injuries that they've had there.
Yeah. the offensive line last night, that was the first time where you were like, all right, you're seeing that they're on like your third and fourth guy. Suopeta struggled a little bit. I know Herbig's solid. He whatever. He's okay. I'm not going to blast Herbig. But now you got another problem coming up potentially Sunday night at right tackle because Pryor had to go there last night. I doubt you're going to see Lane Johnson. I don't know. Do you think you see Lane Johnson play, Jack Driscoll, or are you going to another different look at offensive line Sunday night?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming because they get the little extra rest and knowing Lane. Well, Lane, I believe the report was that now he has an MCL sprain, like a grade 1 knee sprain. Is that if I saw that correctly? That's the kind of thing that he himself has actually, I think, played through before and only missed a little bit of time. So it wouldn't surprise me if Lane tried to gut it out, but if he can't go or if he does gut it out and then has to leave, as he's been doing, it would be Matt Pryor. I mean, I don't know that Driscoll's going to be back in time, and you start to look down the list, and you don't want Brett Toth out there. So really, Matt Pryor is your only real option in that regard.
Okay, this is what I wanted to ask you in regards to the receiver, the tight ends. The report yesterday that the Eagles were looking to trade Ertz. Do you think, number one, that they were really trying, and number two, is that off the table now?
Because he's hurt?
Yes.
It could be for certain teams that might be interested in him, but I don't think that this team would shy away from the right deal.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Eagles. I think if the Eagles could trade him, they definitely would. But
yeah.
How much does that limit his value now in terms of what they might have been asking for and now what they might get? Or do they not even care at this point because they just say, we're not going to sign him anyway, give us whatever you want?
Right. No, it depends the type of team that's looking for him. If all right, let's throw a team out there. I'm going to hypothetically throw out the New Orleans Saints. Right. I know they have Jared Cook, but they probably could use another weapon because they've been down Michael Thomas for a while, and I think Emmanuel Sanders is hurt. Right. But they're a pretty good team, and they're going to be in it. Can they wait? Make a deal at the deadline and then wait another 2 weeks? By then, it might be for Zach to come back and feel like once he comes back that can give him that kick down in December that they need. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I don't think it's completely killed his trade value. I just think that a team that's going to trade for him is going to be not a rebuilding team trying to like add him on, but obviously a playoff team that feels like they need him for a December and playoff run.
How would you grade the defense in this game? They got a bunch of turnovers, but at the same time, Jones had an 80-yard run, and that 97-yard touchdown drive was not good at all.
Not to mention they couldn't stop Gallman late in the game either.
That was my biggest problem, Mike. I mean, they really needed to stop the run. They did not stop the run very well. Of course, Daniel Jones completely fooled them on the run. Look, I know the Giants only scored 21 points, but I was happy with the linebacker play. I'll say that. That play where Alex Singleton trucked Devontae Freeman before he dropped Jones. I don't think I've seen an Eagles linebacker make a play like that since Jeremiah Trotter. So that in itself was good individually. But I thought that they need Avonte back to play because you can't be playing Nicole Roby-Coleman on the outside, and you can't really be playing Strap this many snaps. I mean, he was abused last night by Golden Tate. And I know Golden Tate's good. I'm just saying you can't be an effective defense and have Strap playing as much as he is. I was disappointed with their run defense. And to be fair, I mean, Evan Ingram, that wasn't because of great defense. Evan Ingram just dropped the ball that was in his hands. If that ball is caught, we're talking about an Eagles loss today. I'm convinced.
Oh, definitely. Most likely, a loss and an ugly loss. And yes, you start to wonder what next at 1-5-1. You start to, people say, the quarterback played terrible. You got to sit him. It's time to move on. That you were that close to those kind of conversations. And I'm sure there are people out there probably still having those thoughts in their head.
Well, I'm definitely noticing that. It seems like Evan Ingram's drop pass has suddenly turned Carson Wentz's game into an amazing one instead of a bad one, because if they would have lost, people would be coming down on Wentz the way they did how he played against Washington when he made a lot of bad decisions and, had the lead blown because of interceptions and everything like that. But because they won, it seems the focus is on, what a fourth quarter hero he was. And then that, which is fine, he was, but it seems like then the first quarter or first half problems now get like, well, you hear the excuses, he's just trying to do the best he can with the players that he has out there. That's my quarterback. But literally, if they lose this game, he's going to get bashed and raked over the coals for the exact same type of game.
Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. And don't forget, check out the Inside the Birds podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Drops at 6 a.m. And the Inside the Birds pregame show before every Eagles game, 2 hours before kickoff. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Geoff, enjoy a free weekend of no Eagles football.
I'm sorry I was edgy, Hunter. That's on me, man. You know, I'll pick you up next time, brother.
Yeah, that's okay. It's what we do here.
Take it easy, man.
See you guys.
Football at 4 is brought to you by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now. They'll match your first deposit up to $250. Football 4 every day, 4 o'clock, right here. In season, off season, you name it. We got football.